We're honored and excited to have with us on the phone Steven Curtis Chapman. It's great to talk with you, and thanks for taking a few minutes out of your really busy schedule to be with us.
You're welcome. Good to talk with you as well.
Well, we're really excited to have you back here in Syracuse on March 11th with the Afters and Josh Wilson as part of your tour, the Glorious Unfolding Tour. And the tour is named after your latest album, The Glorious Unfolding. About that title, how did you come up with the name for the album and the title track?
Well, my journey of life, it's always been the case, I guess. My music and the art that I create always is connected pretty directly to my life and life story and the chapter or chapters of life that I'm living at the time. And certainly those who know my story and know my family story know that the last several years, it was about 6 years ago, coming up on 6 years, we lost our youngest daughter in a very tragic accident. And I have, continued to share the music kind of out of that journey over the last few years, but felt like with this latest kind of collection of songs, I guess, I really wanted to be able to kind of begin to share what I've come to really believe with a deeper level of conviction and confidence that God really does know the plans that he has for us. And, it does involve the stories of our lives can involve and will involve some very difficult, hard, almost unbearable chapters. But, will we trust God in those and continue to trust his faithfulness and that he does know the plans that he has for us and that he is with us and he's for us even in that. And, to be able to talk about that in the music that I felt like I was given to write for this record, to begin to have new things to celebrate as a family, to begin to have hope, new hope, back in our hearts and joy, back in our faces and laughter, back in our home. And yet, it's not like we're over anything or like it's behind us. We continue to, deal with the reality that, that we were, our hearts are still broken and will be until we see Jesus, until we see, our daughter's face again. But, to see God's faithfulness in our journey and to be able to celebrate that, to be able to say the story isn't over, that there really is a gloriously unfolding story that God is telling, and can we trust him in that? And, I feel like I can speak to that, obviously, from our experience now in a deep way.
Well, we've always been able to sort of sneak glimpses into your life through your music. And I remember the first album of yours that I ever got was More to This Life. And even back then, it was very obvious that you really poured your life and your heart into your music. And, God has taken you, your family through a very unique path from the highest pinnacles to the worst unspeakable tragedies. How have those experiences shaped the message behind your music, not just for this album, but sort of through the years?
Well, again, it's hard to answer how they've shaped. They just have, I guess the answer is yes, they have shaped. It not only shaped it, that's kind of where the music has come from. It's been out of my, I've never been able to sit and say, I'm going to write a song about this subject because I've read a book about it. It's always been, this is what I've experienced. This is my life experience set to music. And the hope in that being that others, would find themselves in that and go, yeah, I can relate. I connect to that. That's an encouragement to me, in my journey. I've struggled with believing, with doubt, with how can God be good when life is so hard, and how do I, process that? And so I think, as I given the opportunity, to have the gift of music and write songs and share my journey, that's what I've wanted to do with my music all these years, is to be able to say, let me just tell the stories. These songs that have been shaped by my own experience of God showing up in my life. And that's why the songs are about my family, they're about my children, they're, about my marriage. Anywhere God shows up and reveals himself in my life is what shapes the music I write.
Well, you've had a really long and successful career. 18 albums, I think it's 57 Dove Awards, 5 Grammys, 47 number one singles, and close to 11 million albums sold, throughout your career. With that much volume of music that you've been able to create over the years, how do you keep your music fresh? I mean, I hate to use a buzzword like relevant, but how do you keep your music new, not just to yourself, but also, for us who as we listen to it?
Well, it's, I try to stay a student. That's been an important part of it for me, is to, to be a student of music, listening to, to music, staying in touch with, what's going on, in the, the music that I hear, in a sense of, music is a, there's a language, that, it's like the Bible in a way. You read the King James Version, the truth is the truth, and those words are the same truth. But, when you speak with these and thous, that is a language that, for some people, is very hard to, it's very hard to understand and relate to, for most people, because the language style has changed, and but it's still the truth. And, but then you have those who would say, well, let's try to find ways to take those truths and speak them in a, in a more relevant way, in a way that people can maybe understand a little more easily, today. And so that's kind of been, I think, a part of musically for me, to be able to say, the truth is the truth, and I'm not, I'm not gonna, do anything to ever improve on that. But are there better ways for me to be able to speak in a language musically, creatively, artistically, that people will really understand better now, and connect with? And, that's a subtle thing sometimes, but I feel like for me, being a student of music, in a way, is what I think of it as, just continue to listen and learn and grow. That's been a real important part, of the process for me, to be able to feel like I can connect with the audience and stay, in a sense, fresh. The goal not being, how do I stay fresh? How do I stay cool, relevant, all those things, but more, I really believe, this message is important. I want people to hear it. I want to share it. So how do I best do that? How do I best serve that, in a way that will connect with people?
Well, it's certainly not just not just music. I mean, there's a lot of things that you do. 11 years ago, you started an organization which at that time was called Shohana's Hope, and has now been renamed Show Hope, and helps families who want to adopt connect with kids who need families. Being Chinese myself, your work in China has special meaning to me. What brought about your desire to create Show Hope? How did that all come about?
Well, it began for us with our oldest daughter, Emily, our oldest of our 3 biological children. Emily was about 11 years old, went on a missions trip with her mom to Haiti, and experienced kind of for herself that there were children in the world without families. There were orphans, and she knew that, knew the concept, but to really come face to face with that was a real heartbreaking reality for her. And she came home from that trip and began to talk to our family about how we should, take a child that needed a family into our home. And she said, I'll share my room and my stuff. And and we explained that, we had 3 children, we had our hands full, but we would help other families. We would encourage others in that process. And she, was convinced that we needed to do more than that. And she began to pray, and she began, to write letters to us even and say, Mom, Dad, I really think you should consider this. And she'd leave those notes for us to find on our pillow at night when we came to bed, and just really, very concerned about this. And honestly, God just really used our daughter in a powerful way in our lives to open our hearts. It wasn't that our hearts weren't open to the idea was just, surely that's not, what we're supposed to do. We've already got our hands full and 3 children. We're going to help other families and encourage others. But, that's a tremendous calling, to engage in, that ourselves. And yet, as we began to pray about it, we saw that God really was drawing us to this and opened our hearts to this and to this, to show us, that there was something more he had for us. And so we began the journey, to see what that meant. And we, 14 years ago now, March of 2000, we adopted Johanna. And that was, our first step in a huge leap. And from that, when we adopted Johanna, we found that there were, so many families that wanted to experience the miracle of adoption, wanted to adopt, but couldn't afford it. And, had a place in their hearts, a place in their home, but didn't have money in their, finances, didn't have money in their bank account to do that. And so that's really how Show Hope started. We wanted to help families experience the miracle that we'd experienced. And so we began to, help a family here, a family there, and then we found there were many others who wanted to come alongside us and help us help those families. And, more and more, people began to say, hey, we can, we want to be a part of this. We want to help you. And it began to grow. And we last year celebrated, our 10th anniversary of it officially, kind of beginning. And now, over these last 11 years, we've been able to help over 4,000 families adopt, through just financial assistance, through encouraging them, and also, just being a part of kind of helping families understand more about the process, awareness, make more families aware of the need, of how many children there are in the world without families. So just telling the story and watching God use that to encourage other families. And of those 4,000 children that we've been able to help, tell the story and help families adopt them, they've come from 50 different countries. So, it's a broad, it's from all over the world. But specifically for us, we love China because our 3 daughters are from there, and we've spent time there, and we just fallen in love with the people and with the country. And so we've, really wanted to do all that we could there because there's so many children because of medical, needs and all that aren't able to be adopted. They're not adoptable because they're not in the system yet because of their special needs. So we've been able to do medical work specifically in China through several facilities, medical facilities. The main one is called Maria's Big House of Hope, which is a facility that takes care of about 140 children with special needs. And in many cases, life-saving medical care for them that allows them to be able to be healthy enough to be adopted, to be put into the to the adoption process, and many children that wouldn't have survived otherwise that now have made the full journey into a family, which has been just an amazing gift for us.
Well, it's certainly something that I think the work will not end. There's a lot more work there than there are things to do. So it's a really great thing that you have there. So you're coming here back to Syracuse on March 11th with the Afters and Josh Wilson. How has it been so far with those two groups, with Josh and the guys from the Afters?
It's been great. They're both just great artists, great guys, great friends, great brothers. We're having fun collaborating together, getting to play some music together. That's one of the things I love about touring together is not just, you sing your songs, I'll sing my songs, but, let's do some songs together. Let's create some special kind of moments that we can do together. So we've had the opportunity to do that on this tour, and I'm loving it, loving those guys, the younger guys, will talk about how, man, we heard your song when I was in high school. Your song, you know, uh, for the sake of the call, was a really an influential song in my life. And as they tell me those stories, I'm like, well, come sing that one with me on stage. So just trying to create some moments like that that are kind of cool and special. It's been a real special part of this tour for me.
Well, we're really excited to have you back here in Syracuse in concert with the Afters and Josh Wilson as part of the Glorious Unfolding Tour on Tuesday, March 11th at North Syracuse Baptist Church. How can we follow you online? There's a webpage? Are you on Facebook, Twitter? What are the
Yeah,
ways
there's
that people can follow you?
StevenCurtisChapman.com. There's a place you can find just about all the information you would want to find right there. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Just looking forward to being with you, and thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
Well, that sounds great. We'll put links to Steven's information on our webpage. So as you're listening to this, you can just scroll down a little bit further, and you'll be able to find links all to those different places. So we appreciate the
All right.
time. We're looking forward to seeing you, and we're excited to have you.
Thanks so much.